Well, hey there and welcome to this lesson of the church video series. So glad you're here. In the last lesson, we talked about the three most important characteristics of light. And today we are talking about three-point lighting, the fundamental technique for setting up your lighting for virtually any shot that you will ever shoot. In the last lesson, we were talking about theory and knowledge, understanding, but today we're talking about practical techniques that you can use in any situation you are confronted with. So, there are plenty of different lighting techniques to choose from, but there is only one main lighting technique, and as long as you know this one, you'll be able to use it in each and every situation that you need to. And of course, the technique I'm talking about is three-point lighting. Three-point lighting requires three different lights, naturally of course, and each light is placed on a 45-degree angle to your subject. And three-point lighting mostly refers to lighting a certain person in your scene, and so this will work for video announcements, testimony videos, baptism videos, devotions, welcome videos, and anything really where you're going to be filming a person. I like to think of it like a big letter X that the subject is sitting or standing on. They're right in the middle of the X, and each segment of that X is a place where I can position a light. You might be asking, why are we putting our lights on a 45-degree angle? Maybe it would be better if we put the lights straight on and flush. But the problem with an approach like that is that it gives off a very flat look that will result in no shadows. Here's a pro tip. Video is a two-dimensional medium. In the end, people are just looking at a flat screen. There's no depth there. And so then us, as we make videos, need to compensate for this, and we need to add as much depth into our shots as we can. And the way to do that, the best way to accomplish that when shooting a person, is to shoot with the lights on 45-degree angles instead of straight on. Lights placed on a 45-degree angle provide contrast and depth and a flattering look to the face of the subject that we're shooting. Now, flat lighting that goes straight on will give you that very flat lighting look, and this isn't unflattering anyway, but it's not as interesting. There's no depth or contrast to it. Three-point lighting is very easy to set up. Just place your lights on 3 of the 4 segments of the imaginary X, 2 in the front and 1 in the back. Now let's quickly talk about each of the 3 lights within the three-point lighting system. Light number 1, the key light. The most important light within the three-point lighting system is the key light. This is the main light. It's usually the strongest and brightest light, and it also is going to give the most shape and direction to your shot. As you place your key light on a 45-degree angle from your subject, this will properly light one side of their face. Now, likely, it's only going to light one side of their face, and it's going to cast dark shadows on the other, and that's why we need the second light in the three-point lighting system, and that is what's called the fill light. Light number 2, the fill light. The second light in the three-point lighting system is the fill light, and the purpose of the fill light is to correct and fill in some of the shadows that were created when you turned on your main light, the key light. But the fill light isn't going to be as strong as the key light. The point isn't to eliminate shadows or to completely remove the ones that are created by the key light. The fill light is meant there just to do that, to fill some of the shadows and soften it, light it up a bit, but not totally. You want to have one side of the face, for the most part, lighter than the other, and this will create more depth and interestingness to your shot. To ensure that the fill light isn't as bright as the key light, simply turn down the brightness knob on your light. And if your light doesn't have this feature, well, of course, you can always physically move the light back further. And light number 3, the backlight. Also known as the hair light or the rim light, the backlight is the final light within our three-point lighting system. And naturally, the backlight goes on one of the imaginary segments on the back of the imaginary X. The purpose of the backlight is to separate your subject from the background. Earlier I mentioned that video is a two-dimensional medium, and it's our job to use lighting to properly add depth in any way we can. And so when you properly place a backlight, what this does is it illuminates some of your subject's shoulder and their hair and just the outline, and what that does is it visually separates them from the background, adding depth. Using a backlight is one of the best ways to add depth to any one of your shots, and it's also one of the most fun, because while you can stay on that 45-degree angle, and I suggest you do when you're first starting out, you don't have to have it there either. You can have it right beside your subject, you can have it on really any angle you want, and you can also have it really high or really low, and you can create some really interesting type of backlighting. Also, now that you know about it, be on the look for this type of lighting, the backlight, in TV shows and movies, and you can see how different cinematographers are using this type of light to add more depth to each one of their shots. Here's an example. This clip is from the epic sci-fi television drama Lost, and a great example of the proper usage of a backlight. As you can see, this scene is at night, and the faces of both Jack and Kate are barely lit. But if you look at the outline of Jack, especially his shoulders, cheeks, and hair, you can see that they are illuminated from the back. But when the scene goes back to Kate, there's no backlight on her at all. And the reason for this is because this backlight is simulating the moon. The two are meeting in a very dark area without any lights, and if both characters were backlit evenly in the same way, it would be as if there were two moons pointing in two different directions. And as the scene shifts back and forth between the two characters, look at how Jack stands out from the background and Kate blends in, all because of a backlight. The great part about three-point lighting is that it can be used in almost every situation, and so once you understand this key concept, it can be used in a variety of different scenarios. You don't have to learn a new concept for each type of shot, which is really great for us. So just remember the key roles of each light, as well as that imaginary X, and you'll be good to go. Well, that's all for this lesson of the church video series. Make sure, if you're not a subscriber at prochurchtools.com, join us, join the community, join the tribe, and get your free Pro Church Toolkit with ebooks, videos, and the Church Media Experts course. I'll see you guys in the next lesson.